Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson, here on the magnificent Monday edition of the Yard. It's magnificent because we get a chance to play it on the football game. The one Saturday didn't go the way we wanted. We're going to talk very honestly about that game today. It's probably best that I didn't record a show yesterday. Wasn't real happy. I'm not happy today. But after a good night's rest, perhaps maybe I can be a little more objective. But yeah, I guess living down there as long as I did, it makes losing to those guys sting a little bit more. And as I said earlier on the Bo Bound show, it's one of those things I think about too that, you don't get that LSU team that often. You don't get that LSU team that is kind of searching for an identity. You don't get a chance to go to Tiger Stadium and win very often, and we blew it. That's the difference between having a good year and a great year a lot of times. A chance to go on the road and get a huge SEC win. And listen, this is not a great LSU team by any stretch. I'm not trying to suggest that. But this is an LSU team that has talent. They always will. They're never going to trot trash out on that field. Not LSU. They're a top 10 recruiter. That's never going to happen. But they're a little bit disjointed right now. They're kind of in search of themselves. And we had it. We had the game. And we're going to break all that down today. But I'm disappointed. Like all of you, I'm disappointed. I'm not going to sit here and tell you everything's going to be okay, but the reality of it is I do expect us to still have a really good season. My hope is we learn from this and get better from it. We're not going to face a lot of defensive fronts as good as that one. Ojulari is a monster, an absolute monster. He is the kind of guy that left tackles wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat dreaming about. But the reality of it is we should have won the game. We should have won the game. Simple as that. We did not execute. And I've read extensively the hot takes on social media, most of them just rooted in emotion, not really in fact. Like, oh, Steve, the air raid's not going to work. Schematically, we had issues. Listen, here's the deal. Scheme gets guys open, right? Scheme gets them open. They got to catch a football. And we didn't. And we haven't really had an issue with drops this year. We had a couple against Arizona. We had none against Memphis. We had a couple against Arizona. We had, a half dozen Saturday, and every one of them was crucial. I think 3 of them came on third down. It would have moved the chains. We got to be better. And I thought Leach was very accountable in the postgame. Not that any of that matters, right? I mean, I read that all the time. People are like, well, I wish they'd be more accountable in the postgame. I don't really care what people say. I care more about what they do. Because a lot of people can go win a press conference and then lose the ball game. I'd rather lose the press conference and win the ball game. Oh, well, Joe Moorhead said this and Joe Moorhead said that, and Joe was really good about getting up there and, hey, we're going to point the thumb and not the finger, and then we would never, do anything different. Things never changed. So it doesn't matter what people say, but I thought Leach, he said, hey, I thought I had some bad play calls. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of that stuff today too. It's one of the things that I read too, and again, I feel like I'm just casting, shots at our people here, and I don't mean to be that way, but, some of the people that have the strongest opinions have the fewest amount of facts. People are like, well, I didn't like our play calling. Okay, well, what play was called? I'll wait. What play was called? Oh, you don't know. Not me either. I don't know either. I get to be around the team. I get to go to practice. I get to go to post game. I don't know. I don't know what play was called. I also don't know if the play from the bench is what we ran. We may have called the play, and Will may have saw a different look, and Will may have changed the play. And then all of a sudden, Q may see something, of course, in the defensive front. He may change the protection. Now, here's the deal. It doesn't matter what we call. There's so much of that. We get so caught up in that, and it's usually people that haven't played football. And I didn't play extensively, but I played. It's not about a play call. It's never about a play call. It's about how do we get the ball in the hands of a guy that can make a play for us. That's what play calling is at its core. Who can make a play for us, and how do we get the ball into that person's hands in a situation they can be successful? You can call the best plays in the world. I don't care how great a play caller you are. If the guys can't go out there and execute, it's on them. And we had a lack of execution. Leach called it a lack of consistency. We did not execute when the game was on the line. We didn't. And then I thought we pouted a little bit there in the fourth quarter. Thought we did. It's like, listen, LSU is never, ever, 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 ever going to quit. I'm going to turn that down because I've got a few people out there responding to some stuff I've got on social media. So they're never going to quit. And that crowd is not going to let them quit. And I'll tell you, by LSU standards, it was a pretty subdued crowd. Even in pregame, all the LSU people I spoke to expected us to win the game. I didn't get a single tiger bait the whole time walking around. Now, granted, I got dreadlocks down in my waist and I'm sleeved up, so maybe they think a little more carefully about yelling tiger bait. Maybe you experienced it. But I thought by LSU standards, it really wasn't a raucous crowd. The second half, that changed because we allowed them to get in the ball game. It's about us. And listen, and again, give LSU some credit. They made plays. They did. And we wore down in the fourth quarter. So really, let's break all that down. But first, let's thank our friends at Bulldog Burger Company. Longtime sponsors of this show. I never lose when I go to Bulldog Burger Company. It's a win every time. Great food at a great price, a great atmosphere. I've shared with you guys before, one of the biggest irritations in dining right now is when I go somewhere and there's a hidden charge on my receipt. I'm like, what is this? Oh, it's a convenience charge. Well, how am I inconvenienced any less now than before? Oh, well, we're just charging that. We don't want to raise our prices, so we're just charging a fee. What's the same thing? There's integrity in pricing at Bulldog Burger Company. I love that about them. A lot of people are giving you less and charging you more. That's just not the case at Bulldog Burger Company. 3 great locations to serve you: University Drive in Start Vegas, that new patio area when you're in town this weekend. Go enjoy that. Lake Harbor Drive in the Roots and Flowwood area, and of course Gloucester Street over there in Tupelo. I love Bulldog Burger Company, and they love me right back. They will love you too, because in their minds, you're there to enjoy a great meal. They're going to deliver. Very consistent in what they do. Have that great restaurant quality burger. If you're looking to eat a little bit fresher, right? You want the BLT salad. I like it grilled. You may like it fried. Either way, it's fantastic. I never finish it. The portions are outstanding. Bulldog Burger Company, the place for people go to meet. MEAT. All right, let's get into this ball game. As painful as it is, we're going to talk about what went right, what went wrong. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good things are if you don't win. So we didn't win the toss. LSU wins the toss. They like to go on offense first. I thought that was a good thing for us. I like having the ball first out of the break. And I thought, too, as well as we played defensively, I thought, this gives us a chance, perhaps, to get a stop and get good field position early in what I expected to be potentially a low-scoring game and a very close game. They like to go out on offense first. Goodwin runs off left side for 2 yards. They hit Keishon Butte for an 18-yard gain. But I think that was a corner route, if I remember correctly. He beats Forbes there. But Butte, a pretty quiet game. Then there's a false start on Charles Turner, which makes it 1st and 15 from the LSU 40. We get to Jalen Daniels a little bit here. He gets loose. Scrambles for 13 yards. Brings up a very manageable 2nd and 2. Then Goodwin rushes up the middle for 3. Another pre-snap penalty. And right here, I'm thinking maybe LSU isn't ready to go. Our defensive front's going to give them some trouble, and they did. 1st and 15 now from the state 49. It's incomplete to Butte, and there was some very erratic throws from Daniels. We rattled him as a passer, but he beat us as a runner. They end up having to burn a timeout on 3rd and 15 here, and then it's incomplete again. Incomplete, Jack Bash. 4th and 15, they punt a 36-yard punt. State gets it to 13. State puts together a very, very impressive drive here. We swing it out to DJ for a yard. Then we go back to ducking for 5. Brings up a manageable 3rd and 4. And then Dylan rushes for 3. And right here, I thought Mike Leach was challenging his team and letting them know, what, we are here to win. We are not here to play it safe. We are here to win the ball game. 4th and 1 from our 22. We elect to go for it. And DJ gets 4 yards. I thought it was a big early statement in the ball game. We made some statements later that weren't as pronounced as this one. But I thought, hey, you know what? Good on Leach. And if we hadn't made it, I wouldn't feel that way. Now it's 1st and 10 at the state 26, and then we swing it out to Rufus, who gets 4. Dylan Johnson then runs off the right side for 7 to give us a first down. 1st and 10 at the state 37. Then there's an offsides on Jacoby and Guillory, which gives us a manageable 1st and 5. We give it to Woody, his first carry of the game. He gets 1. Then we hit Ra Thomas on a beautiful, beautiful throw. Ra is our best receiver right now. Had a couple big drops in this game, but he is our best receiver. We need him to play as our best receiver. So now it's 1st and 10 at the LSU 37, and then you get the longest run from scrimmage of the Mike Leach era at Mississippi State. We run off left side. Woody Marks goes untouched, 37 yards into the end zone, and then we miss the extra point. And I tell you this, like all of you, I am sick and tired of this. And you know Mike Leach is as well. And it's difficult for me, I can't blame Mike Leach for this. I know some of you want to blame Mike Leach for everything. Okay, I get it. Mike Leach changed his staff last year, completely reshuffled the staff, put Eric Mealy in as a special teams coordinator. We completely gut the room, bring in Archer Trafford's the only guy back, really. And so we go out and get George. We go get Ben. We go get Massimo. It's like we go out and commit, all these roster spots and scholarships. We completely overhaul special teams in back-to-back weeks, and then we've missed extra points. Now, the week before, Ben Rabin was perfect. And then we tried him out there, and we missed him. And this moment here, I was thinking, well, here we go. Here we go. Like all of you, here we go again. This crap again. Rabin kicks it off. They return 18 yards out to the 20. And again, defense comes up big here. They run John Emery off the left side for 1. Nice play there by Nathan Pickering. Daniels incomplete to Brian Thomas for 7, brings up a 3rd and 2. They decide we're going to exert ourselves here. We're going to run right at you. Bookie Watson fits a gap there. John Emery just gets the 1, brings up 4th and 1. They're going to go. And there's another pre-snap penalty. And at this point, you're thinking, you know what? We're ready to play. LSU not ready to play. 2 series in, and they've got 3 pre-snap penalties on an offensive line that's kind of been reshuffled. 46-yard punt, and then Xavier Thomas, the freshman from Metro New Orleans. 22-yard return across midfield to the 49-yard line. And so at this point, I'm thinking, you know what? Hey, we're fixing to go cash this bad boy in. We'll at least get the field goal here. And we're going to be up 2 scores in Tiger Stadium in the first quarter. That's not what happened, though. We're complete to Rufus, and give Jay Ward some credit from LSU. He beats the block and sticks Rufus for no gain here. Makes it 2nd and 10. And then Ojolari just overwhelms us there. Sack for 9 yards, makes it 3rd and 19. We hit Rufus for 18, though. And Rufus paid for it, too. That's a tough kid. He's from Starkville, so it kind of goes without saying. 18-yard, great throw, great catch. Riding across the face of the safety, Major Burns with a big lick there, and Rufus hangs on. Brings up a 4th and 1 at the LSU 40. We elect to go. This was absolutely the right call. You're kind of in no man's land there, not to mention you just had some success. But instead, we get overwhelmed here. We decide to run DJ back up the middle. They blow it up for a 1-yard loss, kind of gets the crowd into it. But again, what's in that gain here, even if you get a touchback on the punt? 20 yards. I think, again, absolutely the right call. Absolutely the right call. Maybe not the right play call, but absolutely the right call to go for it. Because if you get it there, and again, football is such an emotional game. You go for it on back-to-back 4th downs and you get it. All of a sudden it gives your offensive line a lot of confidence, and it weakens the confidence of that defensive front. But they blew it up. Got some emotion. However, your defense rose to the occasion again. LSU with a 3 and out here. Armani Goodwin rushes up the middle, and we stack it up there for nothing. They drop back the pass. We flush him and ultimately get a sack there. Nathan Pickering grabs a foot, gets him for a 4-yard loss. Now it's 3rd and 14, and that's the game plan right there, is keep Daniels behind the chains, make it an obvious passing down. And what happens? We drop into cloud coverage here. There's nothing there. He has to tuck it and go, and then we just got to go make a tackle. We're in cloud coverage, right? Everything's in front of us, and sure enough, he runs for 8. We make a tackle. They punt. 55-yard punt for a touchback here. And again, defense up for the challenge. We take over with a minute and 2 to go in the first quarter. We swing it out to Jameer Calvin for 9 yards, brings up a 2nd and 1. And then we're incomplete. Wingo nearly gets back there. They give him a hurry there. 3rd and 1, incomplete, short left to Tulu, are complete, and we don't get the first down. Yeah, 3rd and 1, we go to Griffin here, and then we don't get it. Just one of those things that happens, right? It ends out the quarter. We have some time to think about it, right? We have the lead. We're at our 29. We said, you know what? We're going. And we run Marks up the middle, and they blow it up again. I didn't like the play call, but I kind of understand it. It's easy to say that when you don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's like the gift of hindsight tells me, hey, it's a bad play call. We ran up the middle the first time, too, for 4 yards. The only reason it's a bad play call is it didn't work. So we tempt fate here with the football gods, and somehow we're rewarded. Jaden Daniels then swings it out to Josh Williams. Great job by Bookie Watson here, too. And I know that he made a big mistake later in the ballgame. Bookie played really well early on. We flush Daniels again. He fumbles the football, and then Ty Wheat, the Louisiana native, jumps on it. So we've dodged a bullet here. People are like, oh, why did we go for it? It didn't cost us. It didn't cost us. All right, so State takes over again. Again, a chance for us to put a drive together here. Complete to Rah for 10, out to the MSU 39. Then we go right back to Calvin for 6. Brings up a manageable 2nd and 4. And then Will Rogers tucks it and runs right at the middle across midfield for the first down. In plus territory again. 1st and 10 from the LSU 49. We're incomplete to Rah. And then incomplete to Rufus and Ojolari, getting after us a little bit there. And finally get to us. 3rd and 10. Will Rogers is sacked. We fumble it. Nick Jones picks it up and tries to advance it. And great effort by Nick there. Nick is a guy, too, that never gets any credit. We never interview Nick. Nobody ever talks about Nick. But you rarely ever see Nick getting blown up at the line of scrimmage. And that's a guy, too, that's kind of an unheralded hero on this team right now. A guy that won the job and has done a good job. I mean, again, not the most picturesque offensive lineman. He's a shorter guy with really long arms. Archer Trafford did a nice punt here, 48 yards down to the LSU 3. And Marcus Banks absolutely blows this up. I read some comments, too. Some people are like, why didn't we change the formation and put Banks on the field and let him spy Daniels? I don't know. I can't argue against that. Every time I see Marcus Banks, he's making a play. All right, so LSU gets the ball backed up in their own end zone here. Goodwin then rushes for 5, and then it's incomplete. Nice play by Buki here to cut in front of the route. Brings up a 3rd and 5. Daniels again drops back. There's nothing there. He tries to manage to get something out of it, and it's another 3 and out. Your Bulldog defense playing outstanding football here, not letting Daniels beat them. Because that's the thing, what happens is like, okay, it's a 3rd and 5. Well, we've got everybody in coverage. We make him throw it underneath and make him run it. We're going to make a tackle. And I thought our tackling was pretty good throughout the ball game, especially here in the beginning. Fourth quarter, things wore down a little bit. But, all right, so it's another punt, and then it's a fair catch by Xavier Thomas at 41. Good decision. We took over again, and a chance for us to kind of take control here in the second quarter. We go to Woody for 3. We come back and swing it out to Ducking for 6. That gets the ball to midfield. 3rd and 1. And here we go, run up the middle again, and we get it. Marks goes for 3 yards and moves the chains. 1st and 10 now across midfield. Simeon Price rushes left for a 3-yard loss. There was nothing there either. They just – somebody missed a block. LSU made a play. We got nothing from it. 2nd and 13. Then Will Rogers is sacked. Harold Perkins Jr. gets back there. Makes it 3rd and 23. And then we basically – just kind of throw it out there. They called this a rush, but I think this was a forward pass. It was kind of Will was under duress here, and we just find a way to get it out of his hands, and we get nothing from it. Then George with a 50-yard punt to the LSU 11. And so we talk so much about special teams, but you look at what we've done in our punting game so far in this ball game, you're like, hey, pretty good effort by these guys, right? We're keeping those guys back down. We're winning the battle of field position. All right, so they take over at their 11. John Emery runs for 3. Jaden Thomas is complete to Emory Jones for 10 yards, which moves the chains. First down for LSU in a while. 1st and 10 from the LSU 24. They give it to Emory, who gets a 1-yard gain. Again, we're winning on first down here. We're winning on first down, which, of course, gives us the ability to keep them behind the chains or keep them in 3rd and long. All right, 2nd and 9. They're complete to Butte for 2. And, again, we're not letting the guy get off. And then Jaden Daniels drops back to pass, and we get a sack. Brings up 4th and 9. They punt. Xavier Thomas then returns it 26 yards across midfield again to the LSU 48. We squandered the first opportunity. You had to cash in here. We do. Dylan Johnson runs off right side for 35 yards. And this was a good in-game adjustment by Mississippi State here. They were overloading the left. It took us a series or two to kind of figure this thing out. Dollar Bill kind of recognizes that, motions back to Will. We make an audible at the line. They've overloaded the left, so we toss it right. DJ breaks a tackle, and it's 35 yards down to the LSU 13. So the two longest runs in Mike Leach tenure here at Mississippi State happened in this ballgame. A 37-yard touchdown from Woody and 35 from DJ. Then we're incomplete across the middle of ducking, and then we find Ra Thomas on an incredible catch and throw. 13 yards for the touchdown. And at this point, I thought we're okay. We're okay. We got to get into the half, though, with a 13-0 lead. That's what I'm thinking. Let's just find a way to get into the half without them scoring. Well, it didn't happen for us. We get the touchbacks. They're pinned back deep. And this is where I thought Jaden Daniels, maybe it's a 2-minute drill, right? And so you just kind of do what you can to move the chains. Daniels swings it out to Josh Williams for 8. And then Daniels runs for 13 to the LSU 46. Goes back to Josh Williams for 3. And then Daniels runs. Again, we're dropping into coverage, and he's taking advantage here. 15 yards. Then he's complete to Malik Neighbors. Finally see his name on the box score. And then that's down to 28. Now we're thinking, let's just hold for a field goal and keep it a 2-score game. Daniels then runs for 20 yards down to the MSU 8. Then he hits Jeray Jenkins probably 2 yards short of the end zone, and Jeray Jenkins toughs his way in. Great effort by Jeray Jenkins. I told you guys last week, he's a guy that always concerns me. Like Butte and those guys get all the credit. Jeray Jenkins is a dude. I don't know that he gets enough respect at LSU. The extra point is good. Now it's 13-7, and you still feel like, okay, well, if we go out here and score on our first drive of the second half, makes a big difference. But this allowed LSU back in the ballgame. This had that crowd all of a sudden thinking, okay, we're one play away. We get the ball at 46 seconds, and we hit Caleb Ducking for 16 out to MSU 41. You're thinking, hey, let's make a chance, make a run at this thing. Allie Gay is in offsides. Allie Gay, kind of a quiet night for him in many respects. I know he had a few tackles, but Ojulari was the one that really ate us up. So now it's 1st and 5 from the MSU 46. We give it to Woody, who gets 3. We end up calling timeout. 2nd and 2, near midfield with 35 seconds. We incomplete then to Caleb Ducking in our face there. And then an incomplete to Rufus. And then we punt down to the LSU 11 again. We're consistently punting those guys inside their own 20. And then they take a knee to end the half there. 13-7. And again, it just felt like, even though we had the lead, it felt like a half of missed opportunities. That's how it felt to me. And give LSU some credit. They changed up their pass rush, and they caused some problems. They confused us a little bit. They got their hands on the quarterback some. But I don't know that we did enough to kind of counter that. And listen, at some point, it doesn't matter how much you want it. Sometimes people are just better, and they won some individual matchups with that defensive front against our offensive line. But at the half here, thinking like, okay, I think we're okay. We need to go out and take control here in the third quarter, and State's been very good in the third quarter, that first drive of the second half, through 2 games. All right, let's get to the second half here. Again, State receives the ball here. Touchback to open the series. We don't score. First time this year we didn't score on the first drive out of the half. We came out, we find Jaden Wiley for 11. Then we're incomplete to Caleb Ducking. Then we're complete to DJ for 8. Brings up a manageable 3rd and 2. And then we're incomplete to Ra. I believe this was a drop, if I remember correctly. And then Archer Trafford, 43-yard punt to the LSU 13. So again, we're consistently making these guys drive the length of the field. And so there's so much discussion about special teams. Sometimes, we focus on the negatives, but our punting game has been good. Our kickoff game has been good. All right, so LSU starts at their 13-yard line. It's complete to Armani Goodwin for 14. Basically, just a little swing route out there. Kind of make it a, kind of a two-man game out there. They swing it out there. They get the block on the perimeter. He breaks it for 14. They go back to Goodwin on a 3-yard run. Brings up 2nd and 7, and Daniels hits Malik Neighbors for 17. Later in this ball game, Malik Neighbors was everywhere on 3rd down. Absolutely killed us. In addition to this play, there is a face mask, which now moves it around to makes it 1st and 10 at our 38. Daniels then runs for 9, not a designed quarterback run. Again, we're kind of flushing them. They hit Butte for 11 inside the Bulldog 20. And then State kind of stiffened here. I thought Zach did a good job kind of getting in his face, forcing him to get rid of the ball earlier. It's incomplete to Mason Taylor. I believe that was a drop. I know the second one was a drop. 2nd and 10, they go back to Mason Taylor, Jason Taylor's son. And kind of a difficult catch, but he should have made it. And then there was nothing there on 3rd and 10. They throw it in the direction of Keishawn Butte. There was nothing there. It was a very wild and erratic throw. The field goal is good, and you feel like, okay, we've survived that. But now you look at it, LSU has scored now back-to-back possessions. Because I'm not counting that one that ran out the half. And so you begin to wonder, okay, defensively, how do we counter this? All right, well, State answers the field goal. We get the ball with 6:31 to go in the 3rd quarter, and it seemed like the second half was going quickly. That was with 10:50. We ended the drive at 6:30. So we run off right side to Woody for 2. We're incomplete to Rufus. And then we hit Ra for 24 yards over Greg Brooks. Great play there. Ra has such good body control, you just kind of got to throw it out in his direction. As long as you keep the ball outside, you're in good shape. You leave it inside, you're not. All right, we're incomplete to Rufus. And, again, he paid for this one. Incomplete to Ra Thomas. And again, they go back and look at it. It was absolutely the right call. I don't know that Ra ran out of bounds on his own. We didn't get to see that part of it. Maybe you guys did at home. But he was out of bounds. In the end, it didn't matter. We hit it to Tulu for 14. Gives us 1st down to the LSU 22. 1st and 10, we rush off right side for 1 yard from DJ. Go back to the left side with Woody. Now it's 3rd and 9 at the LSU 21, and we get sacked. Ojolari again. Crazy. So Ben Raven trots out there, kicks a field goal, 45 yards. It's good. Now it's 16-10. Now they got to get a touchdown, right? And so you're thinking, okay, we get a stop here. Then we have a chance to really take control of this game. Anything on the next possession, like anything makes it a 2-score game, right? And again, your defense kind of hanging in here. So LSU takes over at their 25. They're complete to John Emery for 5. And then they hit Brian Thomas for 15. And Brian Thomas kind of a quiet game. Incomplete to Mason Taylor again. And then we get to him. We sack Jaden Daniels for 6. Buki Watson there. And a very emotional play in the ball game because, LSU fans are thinking we're one play away from taking the lead. And then you could hear kind of the wind come out of the LSU fan sails a little bit as Buki took Daniels to the ground. Great play call there. We got our guy free. He comes clean to the quarterback. 3rd and 16. Again, great defense here because it's 3rd and long. We can play cloud. So what do? We get to the sticks and then make them throw it underneath, and we go up there and make a tackle. That's exactly what happened. He has to kind of – the deep throw isn't there, so he has to go to Mason Taylor. We run up and make the tackle, brings up 4th and 5. They decide to go for it from midfield. And this is the moment I thought, you know what? They're fixing to give us the game here. They'd had the momentum. We answered, and all of a sudden, they're going for it on 4th and 5. They go to Malik Neighbors. It's incomplete. Now we take over at midfield. And now I'm thinking anything here might win the game. The way our defense is playing, if we get anything here, you got a chance to win the ball game. Well, we ended up getting 8 yards on the drive. Dylan Johnson runs off right side for 3. Then we're incomplete to Rufus. And then we're complete to Jaden Wally for 5. It seemed like I remember we ran the route short of the sticks. But anyway, it brings up 4th and 2. We call timeout to talk about it. And you almost think here, okay, would it have been better to punt considering you have a lead? I believe in playing to win. Sometimes the Wayne State is punted to football, you begin to think, let's make Jaden Daniels drive the length of the field. Do you trust that guy to make the many decisions? But you're going to give him a short field here. We go for it, and we don't get it, but it doesn't. I thought Jay Ward got there early. I don't know that the play really had much of a chance of being completed, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, we needed a flag there to bail us out there. I thought Will rushed to throw a little bit. He had to. But we didn't convert here. And again, it didn't cost us. You feel like it should, but it didn't. What cost us was some poor special teams play next. All right, LSU takes over at their 42. It's complete to Dre, brings it to our 46. Then Daniels rushes for a 2-yard loss. Jed Johnson with a nice play there. I mean, we're tit for tat on this whole deal with Jaden Daniels. He got us late, but I thought defensively we did a pretty good job. Jaden Daniels an incomplete to Mason Taylor. It seemed like it was a point of emphasis to get the tight end involved. They just simply couldn't do it. They call timeout on 3rd and 12. Then it's complete again. Same situation. We're in cloud coverage. Make them throw it underneath. They throw it to Jure. He gets just 3 yards. Buki Watson, Colin Duncan. All right, 4th and 9. And now you're thinking, okay, we've survived that. Let's just go get the ball back. It's a punt, and Austin Williams muffs the punt. And at this point, I think we all knew how this thing was going to end. We've had every opportunity to put these guys away. Now we've let them back in the ball game. Now, I'm not going to sit here and bash Austin Williams. That guy has been a tremendous player for Mississippi State. He has given everything he has for Mississippi State, and he will tell you this should not have happened. A lot of people say, oh, there should have been interference there, whatever. I don't know. Here's what I do know, is when I've got a 6-year senior out there who is in there basically as the safety valve, I mean, that's the reason you didn't have Xavier Thomas. You don't want to put the freshman out there in that situation, right? Because if Xavier Thomas fumbles this, everybody they'd have met the plane with pitchforks, right? But you put Austin Williams out there to make this catch. Doesn't have to give me a return. But there's 3 things you can do here, right? You can fair catch it, you can let it go, or you can do what he did. And he fumbled it. And again, it's not like anybody wants to do it on purpose, but this was a huge play in the ballgame. Austin Williams has to make that play. He simply has to make that play. And when it happened, I felt the soul leave my body because I knew how this was going to end up. It may have ended up this way anyway, but this was the turning point in the ballgame. All right, so LSU takes over, and immediately it's a false start. And then I'm thinking, okay, we got him behind the chains. Maybe we can hold for a field goal here. Goodwin then goes for 4 yards to run out the quarter. It's 16-10, and LSU has the ball. Still kind of, second and 10 here. I'm thinking, you know what, let's just find a way to make a play here. Even though I felt it was probably 4-down territory, if you're Brian Kelly, you're thinking, you know what, you're this close. Maybe you swing for it. I don't know. Daniels then goes for 7 down to the MSU 3, and then Daniels runs back up the middle. We actually had a chance to get him down. We didn't give him credit for getting to the end zone. The extra point is good. And then they flag Colin Duncan 15 yards, which, again, was of no consequence. But now it's 17-16 LSU. I said on Bo Bounce Show earlier today, it didn't matter. At this point, it was just what the final score was going to be. The game was over. They had all the momentum. The crowd's back in the ball game. And I thought, again, we have asked so much of our defense here. They have got to get more support from the offense. Right? Before they can even go over there and get a glass of Gatorade, they got to get back on the field. We didn't do a good job offensively. We didn't do a good job managing the game in the second half at all. And again, we had opportunities in the first half, but offensively, and give LSU some credit too, but there's some things we could have done differently. All right, 1st and 10. We swing it out to Woody. Great job by Greg Brooks. I give him credit. And Marks has to come out. He's okay. Comes back in. Then we're complete to DJ for 6. Brings it out to the 31. Makes a manageable 3rd and 4. And then it's, we go to Caleb Ducky and they break it up. And at this point, I think we all realized that we were in trouble. George with the 45-yard punt. Greg Clayton returns it 3 yards out to the LSU 27. Then there's a holding call. LSU now backed up to their own 15. So again, LSU's average starting field position, not good. Not good, especially when we punt, right? It seemed like the only time they didn't have great field position, then when they had good field positions, when we went for it, and then they still couldn't score. It's crazy how life works sometimes. So LSU ball at their own 15. And at this point, I think we all felt like, you know what? If we can just make a play, somebody can step in front of something, maybe we got a chance here, maybe we win it with a field goal. LSU removed all doubt. And again, our defense has played so well for 3 quarters, and they just simply run down here. And LSU really took over and exerted themselves at the line of scrimmage here in the 4th quarter. John Emery runs for 4, incomplete to Butte, and then they're complete to Neighbors. Again, down the stretch, Neighbors was the go-to guy, former Mississippi State commitment, Malik Neighbors. 3rd and 6, they find him for 10. We put ourselves in a situation again to get off the field. It's incomplete to Mason Taylor, almost like they were forcing it. John Emery then runs for 9, brings up 3rd and 1. What do? They find Malik Neighbors again for 10 yards. He beats Jackie Matthews here for the first down. 1st and 10 from the LSU 48. Daniels runs for 6. Jett with the tackle there. 2nd and 4. Emery goes for 1. Makes it 3rd and 3. And again, chance for State to get off the field. What do? They find Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors, 4 yards, and beats Jackie Matthews. And Jackie's a dog. 1st and 10 from our 41. Daniels then incomplete to Keishon Butte. Then incomplete to Kyron Lacey. Both of those throws had no chance of being completed. 3rd and 10, we go after him again. He gets it to Josh Williams. Again, we make a great tackle here. And now it's 4th and 3, and I thought this is a good use of the timeout. Let's settle the defense, but we got a chance here to get off the field. On 4th and 3, they go for it, and it's complete again to Malik Neighbors. And this time he beats Colin Duncan. And how they were able to continue to match up their second-best receiver on a Bulldog safety is probably something we got to figure out. Because other people are going to see that, right? Now, Malik Neighbors is very talented, don't get me wrong. But that's 4 possession plays on this drive. They went to Malik Neighbors. And maybe everybody expects him to be in single coverage because of Butte. All right, 1st and 7. They give it to Josh Williams. He busts through for a touchdown. Still a 1-score game. We'd have to score and go for 2. It's a kickoff. Tulu gets loose. We talked about that he might. He returns it 88 yards to the LSU 12. And it's called back on Bookie Watson's hold that had nothing to do with the play. Now, some could argue, why throw the flag? Well, it was a penalty. Bookie doesn't have to hold there. That's the frustrating part of this. And again, now all of a sudden, when this happens, you kind of remove any suspense from the game because you think, okay, at the very least, you ought to be able to get a field goal and make it, bring yourself less than a touchdown. But chances are, if you score a touchdown, you're going to go for 2 here. Try to tie the ball game. We remove all mystery with this holding call, and he did hold. There's no doubt about it. He did, but it was completely unnecessary. And that's one of your leaders. You can't have that. All right, so we go out there. We're incomplete to Ra, incomplete to Price, and then incomplete to Dylan Johnson. Ojolari again, kind of setting up camp in the backfield. As the kids say, the Tigers were eating at this point. Archer Trafford then a 42-yard punt to the LSU 41. One of the only times we didn't pin them back deep, but because we had to punt from deep. And then LSU removes all doubt here. LSU takes over at the 41 with 6:18 to go. It's incomplete to Jure. Jackie Matthews with a hand in there to break it up. John Emery then runs for 2, brings up 3rd and 8. Jaden Daniels, again, we flush him. He gets loose, runs for the first down. 1st and 10 from our 47. They give it to Armani Goodwin, and he goes 47 yards for a touchdown. We don't fit a gap there, and it's over. And again, we had played the run really well most of the game. Defense just wore down. You got to have some help. You got to have some help. I can't pin this one on the defense. Right? When we give the defense a short end of the field after a muff punt, I mean, these guys played their – I almost said the wrong thing there. These guys played their tails off for 3 quarters, and then we gift them the short end of the field on the muff punt. And then our offense just completely discombobulated the rest of the way. This one's not on the defense. And again, I don't think they'll see a quarterback this athletic the rest of the year. Jaden Daniels did exactly what we expected him to do. We kind of held him down for a while, but again, at some point, talent wins out. All right, so extra points good. It's 31-16. State gets the ball back with 4:50. We're complete to Tulu for 18 and a first down. We're complete to Dillon for 4, brings up 2nd and 6. We're complete to DJ again for 10. Now it's 1st and 10 at the LSU 33. We find Ducking for 6, and then we throw the pick. And here's the chance. There was no chance of this ball being completed. I don't know if it was miscommunication between Tulu and Will, but the ball was well behind Tulu and thrown right to Jay Ward. And so we turn it over there. Again, we got a drive going here. It's going to be too little too late, but self-inflicted wound here. It doesn't matter as much because the game's decided, right? I mean, if that was a game time thing, you'd remember this forever. LSU takes over with 3:02, and they basically run out the clock here. Goodwin runs for 9. Goodwin runs for 3. Emory runs for 4. Emory runs for 3. Emory runs for 3. And that's it. Ball game's over. Not good. Not good. And, it's like beginning of the year when the schedule came out, we all said, hey, that's a loss. And then after we saw LSU play Florida State, we're thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe we can get these guys. And the truth of the matter is we should have gotten these guys. We should have. Now, listen, I'm not going to excuse the talent. I think those guys at LSU are really good. They're really, really good. Are they a great team yet? No. This is not a great team. It's a great collection of athletes, and maybe perhaps it's a turning point for them, right? But they have been very disjointed and kind of discombobulated most of the year. And I don't think this LSU offense is very good. And I think Daniels is a guy, too. You're not going to be able to make a living in the SEC running as much as he does, as little as he is. At some point, the grind of the SEC schedule will be an issue for him. But, hey, you know what? They beat us. And I tipped the cap to that kid. I thought when the game was on the line, he played his best football. Because there was a time there we had the LSU fans booing Jaden Daniels on LSU. And again, defense outstanding for 3 quarters. Absolutely outstanding. And again, the damn burst there in the 4th. But look at the numbers here. We ended up running for 75 net. They ran for 207. And, of course, 2 of those big runs happened there in the 4th quarter. For the better part of 3 quarters, State had the LSU running game bottled up. Passing, State throws for 214, LSU for 210. Not a great passing percentage for either. And a lot of those throws for both quarterbacks made under duress. Total offense, 289. That's one of those things that sticks out to me. We give up 417. We only put up 289. That's the thing to me. Again, this loss is on the offense. Yes, there were some special teams plays too. You missed the extra point, you muffed the punt. But this one's on the offense. State with 6 punts for a 44.7-yard average. LSU, 6 for 269, 44.8. 4 of ours inside the 20, 1 for 50-plus. Kickoffs, we kicked off 4 times, 3 of them were touchbacks. LSU kicked off 6 times, 3 of them were touchbacks, and we got a couple of returns out of it too, and even though we nullified one with the holding call. Individually, let's look at some numbers here. Woody Marks runs for 50. Dylan Johnson runs for 50. So your running backs as a group run for 100 yards. Well, I guess Simeon Price lost 3. That's about what we could expect. Passing game just simply wasn't where it needed to be. Ra 4 for 67 and a touchdown. Caleb 4 for 33. Tulu 3 for 32. Dylan Johnson 5 for 29. Rufus 3 for 22. Wally 2 for 16. We got to get him more involved. Jamil Calvin 2 for 15, and then Woody 1 for 9. Malik Neighbors, LSU's leading receiver, 6 catches for 76 yards. 5 of those six were possession plays. If I told you at the beginning of the year that we would hold Kayshon Boutte to 3 catches and 31 yards, you'd assume we won the football game. They did a great job against him. They were very efficient in what they did. Look at the running numbers. Jaden Daniels runs for 93. Armani Goodwin for 76. John Emery just 32. Josh Williams for 7, but it's a group, 207. And again, a lot of that came in the fourth quarter. Goodwin's 47-yard long run of the fourth quarter, that was a kill shot. Let's flip over to defensive numbers here real quick before we get to the top 10 list. There's so much of this, too. DeCamerion Richardson, 11 tackles. I talked about him on the radio earlier today. I thought he had an outstanding ball game. He's a Louisiana native. He was really good. Bookie Watson, 11 tackles. Had a sack, a pass breakup. Jed with 8 tackles. Tyra Sweet with 6. Jackie Matthews with 6. Colin Duncan with 6. Nathan Pickering with 5. Jalen Green with 4. Randy Charlton with 3. You can run on down the list and see for yourself. But, DeCamerion Richardson stepped up and played well. I don't think there's any doubt that this kid deserves to be the starter opposite Emmanuel Forbes. No question about it. Not to mention the fact that he's paired up with Kayshon Boutte a lot. And if you look, Neighbors' big plays, again, came when they found a way to scheme that up to get him paired up with a safety. That's good offensive football. We've got to find a way to counteract that kind of moving forward. But that's kind of where we are. But Jay Ward, the safety from LSU, we victimized him 2 years ago. They were ready to run him off. He had 11 tackles, and he had the pick, return of 18 yards. Micah Baskerville for 9. Major Burns with 5. But Ojulari really impacted the game. Him and Harold Perkins Jr. I thought were really the difference in this ball game for LSU. Ojulari with 2.5 tackles for loss, including 1.5 sacks. They credited him with 2 quarterback hurries, and I don't know that that's being fair to him. It seemed like he was constantly in our backfield. So give them credit. They won, but at the end of the day, I think this boils down to Mississippi State's lack of execution. That's not in any way to dismiss the effort from LSU. I really thought they changed some things up with the defensive front and in their pass rush that confused us and gave us some trouble. But at the end of the day, when we muff a punt at the 10 and we have 6 drops, half of them on third down conversion type plays, you're going to lose a ball game. You can't go on the road in the Southeastern Conference and make those kind of mistakes and expect to win. And again, a lot of these throws are made for both quarterbacks under duress. And listen, I'll tell you, Will didn't play well. He'll tell you the same. Will didn't play well. And some of that had to do with LSU. They sacked Will 4 times. We sacked Daniels 3 times. Simple as that. The numbers between the 2 quarterbacks are comparable. And the problem with that is, hey, Bulldog fans, you know what time it is. You can smell it in the air. You can feel the buzz all around you. Football is back. The thrill of the game, cheering fans, touchdown celebrations, absolute nonsense from SEC officials. But getting taken out of the game, that's absolutely out of the question. Luckily, there's Drizzly, the #1 app for alcohol delivery. With Drizzly, you can compare prices on the biggest selection of beer, wine, and spirits from local stores and get them all delivered to your door in under 60 minutes. That's right. You can even schedule them for delivery up to 2 weeks in advance if you're having a big celebration party. Now you can keep the party going without missing a second of the football action. And win or lose, Drizzly makes it easy to send the gift of beer, wine, or spirits to the fellow football fans in your life, especially if that means a little extra post-game gloating. Download the Drizzly app before game time or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com. DRIZLY.com.
I'm seeing something. It's smiling at me. But not a friendly smile. The worst smile I've ever seen in my life.
Do you see it right now?
Smile. Rated R. Only in theaters September 30th.
Is that Daniels can tuck it and go. Will can't. In the framework of our offense, a dual threat quarterback like Jaden Daniels should never have comparable passing numbers to Will Rogers. Because that's our entire offense, right? Will's got there for like 400 yards, not 214. That means, again, I'm not dumping on Will Rogers here, but Will takes a lot of accountability. I think Will sometimes is too hard on himself. But you look at all these incompletions here, and again, it's like, okay, you're 24 of 42, and some of those 2 were just passes under duress. We had to get out of there to avoid a sack. But you got a half dozen or more drops And again, can Will play better? Yes. But his receivers, when you get protection and he throws the ball accurately, you got to make the catch. You got to make the catch. Disappointing, to say the least, in the Bulldog offense. And again, I think, again, our defense is kind of gassed down. But, what happens if we don't muff that punt? What happens? Maybe having a different conversation today. Football's an emotional game. And at that point, LSU had all the juice. Even though we had the lead, it just felt like it was a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point. In the fourth quarter, LSU, their running game against a very gassed defense, and now suddenly a spirited crowd took over the ballgame. All right, time for today's Top 10 list, brought to you by closewithblair.com. That's Blair Chandler. Here's the deal. If you're looking to refinance your home, and perhaps you are, Blair Chandler is your best option. There are a lot of people out there vying for your business. Blair is the guy that gets you closed. Top 1% close ratio in the country, back-to-back years. 21 years of experience. Closewithblair.com. Works with Fairway Mortgage, recently voted number 1 in customer satisfaction with mortgage loan origination. Give Blair a call or text today at 601-500-2344 and tell him you heard about him on the Boneyard. He'll pay for your appraisal. A lot of fees associated with getting a mortgage closed. Blair's going to save you some cash when it comes to all that. Hit him up. Again, closewithblair.com. You'll be glad you did. All right, let's jump into today's top 10 list. So our friend William Nutt has been after me for a while to do a Muse list. Muse, a British band, a little different, right? They're kind of an alternative band, got some Depeche Mode elements to what they do. I like Muse. I'm not a huge fan, but I like Muse. Very familiar with the catalog, probably not. William says it's, one of his favorite bands. So, William, thanks for the suggestion. Here are my top 10 Muse songs. William, you may disagree. That's okay. When you get your show, you can put your own list together. Number 10 for me is the song Resistance. Resistance, very good song. Number 9, Feeling Good. This is one, too, that's kind of a mix between their two styles. Like they became more of an electronic band about halfway through the catalog. I think this is a good mix, kind of true to the Muse sound. Number 8 for me is the song Starlight, and I think the vocalist does a great job kind of using his falsetto on this one. Vocally, I think it's one of the shining moments in the catalog. Number 7, I love the guitar tone on this one. It's called Plug In, Baby. What a great song for a rock song, right? This one is a little more rock alternative, but again, the guitar on this one's really good. Now, Madness is number 6. This was a big hit for them. And it seemed like for a while this was kind of everywhere. It seemed like everywhere I went. And this was kind of a coming out party, I think. It's a big hit for them. Number 5, another song with a great guitar tone. It's the track Psycho. I like this one an awful lot. A little more up-tempo. And again, the guitar kind of in your face. Number 4, Time Is Running Out. That's a great one too. And probably one, too, if you're unfamiliar with, maybe that's a good place to start. Number 3, if you played Rock Band, you probably know this one. It's Knights of Sidonia. Got a really wild intro. A lot going on there. And then it basically gets into a very intricate guitar song. Number 2, and some people would suggest this is the best song from Muse. Arguably their biggest hit. I dig it. I think you will too. And again, many of you may have this number 1. I don't. It's number 2 for me, but it's Supermassive Black Hole. That's number 2. And right now, William's thinking, what could be number 1? Well, William, it's Uprising. I have always loved that song. It is a song of defiance. It is a song of, you know what, we're the underdogs and we're not going to go away. Derek Cody, a couple years ago, well, not a couple, my goodness, time gets away from us. When Derek Cody was doing the videos, the post-game videos, he used the song Uprising from Muse as the soundtrack to one of those Hell State highlight videos. It was an outstanding effort. Derek Cody did a great job for us. And that's it. That's the top 10 list. If you have ideas for the top 10 list, reach out and let me know. And again, I think you should give Muse a chance. And maybe if you're one of those people too, just kind of looking for something new and different, maybe this is the direction you go. Reach out to Roy on Twitter at Dogmatic67. That's DAWGMATIC 67 on Twitter and Spotify, and you can follow our great list there. Hit Roy up, give him your ideas, and he'll put you on the list. And as William Nutt will tell you, it's taken me a little while to get to his list, but here we are. So, William, again, thanks so much for the suggestion. Thanks for listening, and thanks for contributing to the top 10 list. All right, next segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart. That's campusbookmart.net. If you haven't visited them, I encourage you to go by and check them out. Go and see their smiling faces. The Bully Shop now completely renovated. Everything is upstairs now, which has allowed them to expand their selection of Mississippi State merchandise. A lot of people make the claim. They would be incorrect. Campus Bookmart, the biggest selection of Mississippi State merchandise in the known universe, until we discover a planet, the big maroon planet out there of Bulldogs. That's it. Visit them at campusbookmart.net and use promo code BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson, and that'll get you free shipping on all orders over $50. Any order less than $50, absolutely incomplete. All right, let's look around the Southeastern Conference. Weekend went pretty much to script, other than us losing the ball game. But again, that was always a toss-up. But I didn't think there was going to be a lot of drama within the league, and there really wasn't. Georgia absolutely blasts South Carolina 48-7. Georgia is the number one team in the country. And again, South Carolina, I think last year was a bit of a fluke because they kind of caught, a couple teams that were down. I think this year, South Carolina is not going to sneak up on anybody this year. 48-7 winners, the Georgia Bulldogs. Youngstown State made it interesting for a while, and Kentucky wins 31-0. I wouldn't say a very impressive win for Kentucky, but they take care of business there. Abilene Christian made a game of it with Missouri for a little while. 34-17 winners for the Tigers, and probably a little bit close for comfort for Tiger fans. I mean, Abilene Christian, it's an FCS school, and they go into your place and they put 17 points on you. Ole Miss, 42 winners over Georgia Tech. I expected Ole Miss to win that game handily. And I told you I didn't think Georgia Tech could score. I thought they would score some. I didn't think they could score with Ole Miss, but an impressive ball game for the Rebels. And not that Georgia Tech is anything. I mean, Jeff, I got to have more than 3 wins a year. I think this will be the final year of the Jeff Collins era, and I think we all see that coming. And I'm disappointed because I wanted Jeff to do well. Not just in this game, but, I mean, when Jeff got the head coaching job, Jeff is a guy that he's a really nice guy. I know he left us to go to Florida in the, quote, lateral move that Dan Mullen talked about that created such controversy. But I really thought Jeff would do well. Did a good job at Temple, but for some reason he has not been able to kind of get things going at Georgia Tech. And I know people say, well, it's a different recruiting environment there. But you mean to tell me you can't find some kids that can play in the suburbs of Atlanta? That makes a lot of sense to me. And I'm sure it doesn't make a lot of sense to Georgia Tech donors and administrators either. So I think it's pretty safe to say, that Jeff's not going to make it. But I really wanted Jeff to do well. Penn State all over Auburn, 41-12. That game probably not as competitive as I expected it to be, but when you get quarterback play the way Auburn has, you're not going to win a lot of ball games. That's the thing you think about, too, with all these people leaving. Bo Nix leaves, and you go get T.J. Finley, you go get Zach Calzada. This is what you get. You struggle against a couple non-conference opponents, and you get Penn State to come in there and they absolutely smash you. Auburn's not done losing football games. Vanderbilt and Northern Illinois, we talked about this one. I told you that I thought that Northern Illinois would hang in there for a while, and eventually the Vanderbilt athleticism would take over. Yes, the Vandy athleticism. Vanderbilt really takes charge there in the third quarter. At the break, it's 21-14. Northern Illinois, and then Vandy puts up 21 points there in the third quarter to kind of remove any trepidation. Fourth quarter, Northern Illinois had a chance to climb back in it, only down a touchdown, and then Vandy makes the field goal there to make it a 2-score game. So strike up the Commodores, now 3-1. And yes, as so many of you reminded me, yes, when I was going through stats last week, Vanderbilt's played 3 games. So I blew it. I admit it. I blew it. But yes, Vanderbilt has now played 4 games. Alabama 63-7 winners over Louisiana Monroe. You expected that to be a bloodletting. It absolutely was. The Warhawks. Stan Humphries in running out of that tunnel. All right, Missouri State made a game of it for a while. Bobby Petrino. And I even saw some comments on the Arkansas message boards. Some of their fans were concerned, and turns out rightfully so, about Missouri State. In the end, though, Arkansas's athleticism, the SEC strength and conditioning program, takes over in that fourth quarter. It was, 27-17, Missouri State. And then the Arkansas Razorbacks score 21 unanswered to win 38-27. Nice rally from the Hogs. And again, are they a top 10 team? I don't know. I like them a lot, though. I like their style of play. But again, give credit to some Arkansas fans, and maybe it's just, maybe it's some of that's just, we're playing Bobby. But give Petrino and those guys credit to come in there and play well for a while, for 3 quarters. And for a while, it looked like Missouri State might pull off a massive upset. But they don't. Order's restored. Tennessee, 63-6 winners over the Akron Zips. Man, the Zip offense really struggling. Now, you knew this game wasn't going to be competitive. You knew it wasn't going to be competitive. But, the Zips scored 30 against St. Francis, PA, and had to go to overtime to do that. Didn't score against Michigan State, and then puts up 6 against Tennessee. They'll get Liberty this weekend. That was in a barn burner of a game over the weekend. But the Zips, not putting up many points. All right, South Florida made a real game of it against Florida. I didn't expect that. I did expect Florida to win. I didn't think South Florida would be able to keep it close. They did. It's pretty crazy. South Florida led after 7-3, and at the break, it's all of a sudden a 24-13 game, and then South Florida wins the third quarter, and it's an impressive. You start thinking, is this going to happen? Is this going to happen for them? It's now a 24-21 game headed to the fourth quarter. The Bulls will then score a field goal of tying this ball game. Florida gets it done. Wasn't pretty, but they got it done. Miami, I felt like this was too much for them. I don't think the ACC is very strong anyway. Texas A&M wins an ugly game, 17-9. And it's a good win for Jimbo and those guys too. Both teams now 2-1, but A&M 10-3 at the break. And then it's a 7-3 quarter for the Aggies there in the third. Really kind of removed all that. It was 17-6 headed to the fourth. And ends up being a 17-9 game. But, give the Aggie defense a lot of credit. Van Dyke from Miami threw for just 217 yards and right at 50% completion. Average completion was just over 5 yards. They didn't have a 100-yard rusher. Henry Parrish Jr., former Ole Miss Rebel, ran for 85 yards. But, again, it's a good win for A&M. Real quickly, kind of looking ahead of the week, we talked about the good games this past week or 2 weeks ago. There will be some good ones this week, too, as a lot of teams get into conference play. But Georgia, again, will get to pad the stats as they host Kent State. Missouri is at Auburn. That could be an awfully interesting game there. If it was at Missouri, I might be ready to just go ahead and pick the Tigers outright right now, the Missouri Tigers. That's going to be an interesting game. With all these in-season fires we've already seen, you begin to wonder, like, if Missouri wins this ball game, does Brian Harsin survive the season? Bowling Green, of course, at Mississippi State. Florida's at Tennessee. Tennessee a favorite in the game, as they should be. Tulsa is at Ole Miss. Of course, the Ole Miss non-conference schedule not the strongest. This might be the most difficult non-conference game they played. Ole Miss now up to 16th in the rankings. Northern Illinois, who gave Vandy some fits, will be at Kentucky. I don't think that's going to be near the game it was a week ago, but still interesting. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, Kentucky, again, kind of riding the success of last season, winning 10 games. Probably the most intriguing game of the weekend, Arkansas and A&M getting together at Jerry World. That's going to be an interesting one there. Yeah, I think on first blush, I think you got to take the Razorbacks, right? They win an emotional game last week. A&M, of course, kind of won as a must-win game. That game at Jerry World has the last 4 years, I guess, has been absolutely entertaining. I hate giving up a home game, but they do a really good job with that game. And I think both teams have really played well in that series as of late. But that should be fun. That'll be a 6 p.m. kick. So we get our game done. We're 11 a.m. kick. We can get home to watch. Should be an interesting night of football around the country. Vanderbilt said Alabama. It seems like Vanderbilt, has played 100 games already, but this is one here that I think will be interesting to see how Alabama defenses Mike Wright. New Mexico is at LSU. Tigers should be 3-1, and Charlotte's at South Carolina. But we get this from non-conference stuff, but again, the conference matchups this week are very intriguing. The Missouri at Auburn game, Florida and Tennessee, Arkansas at A&M. Those games, I think, will be a lot of fun to kind of keep up with. And, of course, we'll get our game done. We can get home and enjoy some college football. I'm glad we're playing at 11. I know that will hurt attendance in some respects, but selfishly, I'm looking forward to kind of sitting around with you guys and getting on Twitter and discussing some of these games because we love college football, not just Mississippi State football. We love Mississippi State football the most, but we enjoy college football. And it's nice to be able to have a day to kind of sit around and enjoy some games. And hopefully State wins this game handily when we get on out of here and State move on to 3-1. Pretty crucial stretch coming up for the Bulldogs. Kind of a defining stretch in our season. So we need to go out and take care of business. Of course, we'll preview Bowling Green at length on Wednesday. And maybe you haven't kept up with those guys this year. But they beat Marshall in overtime last week to get their first win of the season. And every other game has been a blowout. I say a blowout, excuse me. They lose at UCLA 45-17. They lose a barn burner to Eastern Kentucky 59-57. And then they win 34-31. So defense has kind of been optional for these guys. They're now 1-2 in the MAC. You remember we played these guys under Dan Mullen. And I like MAC football too. It's kind of rare for the MAC, to really compete in the Southeastern Conference. And you would begin to think that maybe, teams like Kentucky and Tennessee would play these teams a little more often. We have played Bowling Green just the one time, and that was back in 2013. We win the game 21-20. So in no way whatsoever was it a very comfortable game. Had to have that one to get in the ball game that year, if you recall. Very difficult year for us. We went 4-6 and had to win the last two. That's the Nico Woodley year, right? That's Nico stripping the football against Arkansas and stripping the football against Bo Wallace to save the season. So, we should win the game handily, but it's no stretch for us to come out here and say, you know what, we go out there and we sleepwalk through this thing. It's going to be a lot closer than it should be. But again, excited to have you guys back on campus. Excited to have you guys as part of our Mississippi State family. And we need to go out there and kind of exercise some demons. State's favored by 32 in this ball game. We need to go out there and win this game going away and really get some continuity on offense. Because even though we won those first two games handily, none of them were an offensive masterpiece. We need this one to be an offensive masterpiece. We need to go out there, play within ourselves, play within the framework of the offense, and just use our athletes to go win the game. And this is a game, too, that you need to get deeper into the depth chart, get some other guys some reps. Hopefully we'll see Sawyer Robertson extensively in the second half. But we need to put this game away pretty early in the third quarter and be able to get down the depth chart and save some guys some wear and tear, but also to get some meaningful reps, for other players. We hadn't seen Justin Robinson much, and that was a guy too. We went out and got him. We're expecting to see more of him, and the only game we've seen him in, of course, was Memphis. He scored the touchdown late. We got to get these guys going, and that's the thing I think about too. When you're Mike Leach, when you have committed so many scholarship spots to wide receivers. If you got guys that aren't catching the football, then you need to put somebody else in the ball game. And Mike doesn't need me to tell him that. That guy's been around forever and a day. So, again, we need to get on track this week and kind of get everything rolling, get out of the game injury-free. And, again, we'll take a longer look at the Bowling Green Falcons on Wednesday. And if you're in town, please come by and check us out. Now, next weekend, we'll be Rock Vegas. That's a Friday before the A&M game. You can get your tickets through Eventbrite, and it's on all my social media. Right, you just Google Rock Vegas, Lillian Axe, and of course we'll have a couple of up-and-coming Mississippi bands that'll be on the bill at the venue as well. We're downtown, Hobie's on Main, downstairs in the Old State Palace Theater. It's going to be a great show. It's going to be a great night. Heard from Stevie Blaze earlier today about times. They got a lot of people making the trip up from Louisiana to come watch the show. Want to know what time, set times are and all that kind of stuff. So we're still figuring all that stuff out. We're good to go. Listen, I'm going to encourage you guys about tickets. We have, I guess we're about 100 tickets left. And I want to sell them all. And I want to sell them all not just because of the fact that I think Lily and Axe and these bands deserve it, but all the money goes to our Bulldog Initiative. And I said this earlier in the show. People are always saying, well, Steve, I'm not real big on NIL. It doesn't matter if you're big on it or not. It's here, and it's a factor. And so I need you to buy tickets. I need this show to be a sellout. And that's the thing I think about, too. Like, we had an Ole Miss guy kind of poke fun at us earlier on Twitter. And he goes, hey, you guys are so far behind in NIL, Steve's going to have to throw a bunch of concerts. Well, I'm willing to do that. And I joked around. I said, I'll bring in Led Zeppelin if that's what we have to do. But I need you to do your part, too. Whether you want to come to the show or not, I need you to buy tickets. I need you to help support Mississippi State's NIL efforts. It's as simple as that. Our NIL efforts are in good shape. And listen, I think about Charlie Winfield all the time. I wonder at times how much money Charlie is losing by manning up and kind of running our NIL initiative. Because, it should be a full-time job for somebody else. But now we've got a guy that's a successful attorney, number one, which is a good thing because it's helping us navigate through this to ensure that everything is above board. But the reality of it is this is a guy, too, that is, again, a successful law practice. And every time I turn around, Charlie is in a plane somewhere going to talk to somebody about contributing to our NIL efforts. And I'm very grateful for Charlie, and I'm happy to partner with him. And so I put this event together to kind of give these guys some money to work with. And so I need you to help me sell out this show. And to be quite honest with you, the fact that we're less than 2 weeks away from the show and we haven't sold out the show yet is a disappointment to me. And it's not a disappointment because of the venue or because of the bands or because of my own efforts. I'm disappointed that we have so many people kind of reluctant to get involved. And so I can kind of see how Charlie feels. And even though he's not expressed that frustration to me, I can see it. It's like this is a guy that is giving of his own time, giving of his own efforts, using his skills for the betterment of Mississippi State. And we have so many people that are kind of reluctant. And so I came along and put this event together to make it easy. You don't have to be some fat cat big donor that writes a six-figure check. You can just go buy a couple $40 tickets, and if you want to come to the show, great. And if you don't, then let me know. Send tickets to me. I'll get them in the hands of some Mississippi State students. And so what could be easier? And that's the thing. Again, we're doing well. We're selling a lot of tickets, and I do believe that we will sell out at maybe the day of the show. But the fact that I'm still here having to beg for ticket sales is a little frustrating, to be quite honest with you. Just kind of lay it on the line here. I really thought, we had a huge day when the thing opened up, and we sold all the mezzanine level tickets right out of the gate within about an hour. And then had a good second day, and then, of course, we had a good day last week shortly after Stevie Blaze put the video out there, and Cal Brown, our friend at Start With Daily News, wrote that wonderful article and put it on the front page of the paper. And so there's a lot of people out here that are pulling in one direction to make sure, number one, that we bring a great show and we have a lot of fun, but we also raise money for the betterment of our student athletes. And so, again, I say, if you're a hot take person and you're out there and it's like, hey, I'm complaining about fire this guy, fire that guy, whatever, how are you contributing to the solution? I'm not going to sit here and debate the merits of your opinion because you're certainly entitled to that. I'm not going to sit here and say that I've got the corner of the market on good ideas. But my question to you is what are you doing to be solution-oriented? How are you helping the situation? Other than getting out there and being negative. And I'll tell you this, too, and you can make of this what you will. I've had multiple coaches in multiple sports on this campus tell me that when they'll tell recruits, hey, we have the best fans in the country. And then other schools will walk in there with a packet with message board posts and tweets and things like that from some of the, quote, best fans in the country. And so what my hope is we can all just kind of pull the rope in the same direction. And so let's get involved with the initiative. Let's buy some concert tickets. And I want to do more events like this. But I'm going to be honest with you. It's taken up so much of my time, and I've contributed so much of my own money to this. I've got to make sure that we have partners in this and I don't just mean sponsorship, I mean all of you. I need you guys to contribute to this. If you want to have other shows, and maybe you're not a big Lillian Axe fan, maybe you're not as big a metal fan as me. Maybe you need somebody that's a little more rock radio friendly. Cool. That's going to cost me a little more money next time. And we're going to do another show. But if you want these events to continue, if you want these opportunities for us to raise money for NIL to continue, then I need your help. And that's as impassioned a plea as I can make about this. Again, hey, we're doing well with season tickets. With concert tickets. But I really thought by now we'd be sold out. And here we are now, 11 days from the show, and got still over 100 tickets left. And so I need those tickets bought. I do. I'm having to pay for a lot of things, because there's always another check to write. It's like you get a little bit closer. Oh, we didn't think about this. And there's nobody stepping up saying, hey, Steve, hey, let me pay for this for you because you don't know about it. And so I'm just paying for it. I'm writing the check myself, and I'm paying for it. I'm making sure it gets taken care of because it's important to me. It's what I feel is my contribution to Mississippi State's NIL efforts. And so, again, I need your help. That's as honest as I can be about it. I need your help because I want to be able to go to people next year and say, hey, you know what? We had Rock Vegas 2022 and we sold it out. So we want to have a bigger venue. We're going to have a bigger band. We're going to have to raise more money. We're going to have a bigger commitment, and we're going to get a bigger purse. And so I've already talked to 2 national recording artists, 2 that are interested in playing Rock Vegas 23 as a headliner. But it's going to cost a lot more money. And so in order for us to get that done, I need you. Simple as that. A lot of people are scared of NIL. They don't know what to do. I'm making it very, very easy for you to get involved. All you got to do is go to eventbrite.com, search for Rock Vegas, buy some concert tickets, and then you have contributed to NIL. I'm not making a nickel from this. Not one nickel. Absolutely not. All proceeds from all ticket sales and Rock Vegas merchandise sales go directly to the Bulldog Initiative. Every dime. I don't keep any of it. It doesn't even go through my hands. Right now, if you go buy the tickets, it goes into basically an escrow account, and after the show is over, then all that money is transferred directly to Bulldog Initiative. It's as simple. It couldn't be easier. And so I'm making it easy for you. And so again, we're doing well, but I want to sell them all. And to be honest with you, I'll consider it a personal failure if we don't, because I've put so much time and effort into this, and of my own money too, to ensure that we have a great show. And that we do a lot to re-energize the rock scene in Mississippi. I went and saw Four-Way Stop on Friday night down in Baton Rouge. They played down at the Revelry. Told you guys I was going. Incredibly impressed. I loved their original stuff. Had a chance to visit with the band afterwards. They were very appreciative that I came. And we're going to do some more stuff at Four-Way Stop because I think those guys are really going somewhere. And so I have now seen Twist. I have now seen Four-Way Stop. And I've seen Lillian all within the last month. And I am extremely excited about the show. So if you like rock and roll, and it doesn't matter, your taste. Four-Way Stop is basically a southern rock band. Twist is more of a progressive modern-day rock band. Got a little punk elements in them. And, of course, Lillian Axe. They're a metal band, but become a little more progressive as well. And so we've got something that'll suit your fancy no matter what. But even if we don't, you should support the event because it supports Mississippi State. All right, final segment of the show brought up to you by Portico. They're also sponsors of Rock Vegas, and I appreciate them for basically anytime that I have anything going on, my friends at Portico, they're always there when I need them. And I wish I could pay them back by, helping them sell out their residential development out there, right? So be sure when you're in town, go by and see it. Maybe you've always thought about moving back to Starkville or having a place here in Starkville. Portico's the way to go. 1.1 miles away from the Mississippi State campus. What could be easier than that? And it's tucked away in a neighborhood, so you're not all out there in the hustle and bustle. You're just right there for convenience sake. But you also have some peace and quiet of being in a neighborhood. You can start with a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home, go all the way up to a 4-bedroom, 4-bath home. It's very conveniently located off 82. You turn on 12, like going to campus. The very first road is Pat Station Road. You go to the Four-Way Stop, boom, there's Portico on the right. That's how close it is. If you need information, I'm sure you do. Call Brooks Bryan, our friend, at 601-416-8075. Again, 601-416-8075. Brooks Bryan, former Diamond Dog, and I hate to even use that label because I think it's a lifelong designation. Brooks, part of 2 great Omaha teams. A guy that's committed to making Mississippi State and Starkville the best place it can possibly be. So if your real estate agent hasn't mentioned Portico to you, maybe you should ask why. But contact Brooks. He can get you all the information you need. I encourage you, go check out Portico. Whether it be your ballgame weekend retreat, your primary residence, perhaps your future retirement home, you've got a place and a plan that fits your needs. Make Portico your next move. Quick programming note, too, in case you haven't heard. Mississippi State's game against Texas A&M will be a 3 p.m. kickoff. I was hoping for a night game, but 3 p.m. kickoff. So come rock out with us at Rock Vegas, and then you'll have the afternoon to go watch the Bulldogs play. So 3 p.m. kickoff against Texas A&M. That's just announced here moments ago. Okay, over the weekend, Mississippi State played a couple of college baseball scrimmages, and our friend Mike Nemeth was there to cover the events. Want to give you a couple things. Some big games, some big moments, I guess, and pretty good numbers here, too. And you never know what to gauge when it comes to an inter-squad scrimmage, because you say, hey, either our guys can really pitch or our guys can't hit, or our guys can hit and our pitchers can't get it done. But you can see that coverage over at genespage.com. But let me give you a couple notes and that Mike dug up. And, we were so grateful that we have a big enough staff. Mike was there to kind of handle that while we went down to cover LSU and Mississippi State's game. So I share that. So if I can find some numbers here. Here we go. Okay, so kind of trying to get the format down here. So let's see. Dave Mershon, freshman shortstop, went 2 for 4 with a couple of RBI. Slade Alford, 1 for 5. Bryce Chance, 1 for 5. Ryan Williams, 1 for 4 with a couple runs scored. Will Hull, the 4th, 1 for 4 with an RBI. Casey Hunt went 2 innings pitch, allowed 4 hits, an earned run, 3 Ks, a couple walks. Bradley Lofton, really excited about him. Goes 2 innings pitch, allows a hit, walks 2, strikes out 2. Gerangelo Sagente, 2 innings pitched, no hits, no runs, but did have 4 walks and 2 Ks. You expect freshmen to have some control issues. Austin Tomasini, 1 inning pitch, 1 hit, 1 run, 3 walks, no Ks. And again, that's a young guy. Colby Holcomb, our junior college transfer, 2 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 1 K. Just kind of looking at stuff here. KC was 91-93 with the fastball, 83-86 with the breaking ball, 77-79 with a change. Lofton, 94-95. That's awfully swift from the left-hand side, 84-86 with the breaking ball. So a couple nice comments you can go see there. And then the black team numbers, Armani Larry, 3 for 4. That's not right. 0 for 4 with 3 runs scored. This format is kind of interesting. I got to work with this to make sure this looks a little more presentable. All right, so Luke Hancock, looks like Luke was 3 for 4. I can't make heads or tails of this, guys. I'm not gonna to run through this, but here's some numbers too on your pitchers. Pico O'Connell was 88-89 fastball, 75-80 on the breaking ball, 76-78 with a change. Evan Sierra, 89-90 on the fastball, 72-79 with the breaking ball, 75-79 with a change. Davis, 88-91 on the fastball, 79-81 breaking ball, 80-84 change. And Tapper, 88-90 on the fastball, 76-77 on the breaking ball, 77-80 on the change. So you guys are out there and they're working hard. And, now you may have heard, too, they have made some changes to the SEC baseball schedule. They figured out that now, again, I'm getting it secondhand, okay? So they put the schedule out there. The SEC rotation was wrong by a year. So rather than it being the 2023 schedule rotation, they put out the 2024. So you had Tennessee and Arkansas not playing head-to-head for back-to-back years. Well, that shouldn't happen. And Mississippi State, we need those guys to play head-to-head, right? We need them to go split a series no matter who wins, because that way somebody takes a loss, no matter how it works out. And so those are 2 teams, obviously, that we'll be chasing, in the hosting and top 8 national seed type stuff. And so we need those teams to play. So everything we talked about last week could be changing. Now, the one thing that I'm told is likely not to change is that Ole Miss comes in for Super Bulldog weekend. Now, I understand that's one thing that we'll probably really fight to keep. And that's a team we play every year anyway. So they should be able, if that's the one thing we have to have, then we're okay with that. Okay, it's their year to come here, so we're going to have that here. And again, there's so much of this, too, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And listen, if I'm Greg Sankey, I'm absolutely furious because kind of like as George Steinbrenner said on Seinfeld, chaos doesn't work for the New York Yankees. Chaos doesn't work for Greg Sankey. Not in the SEC. We pride ourselves on being the best sports conference in the country. And to have something like this happen is very embarrassing for the league, and I'm sure for Greg Sankey, and I'm sure somebody somewhere has had to pay handsomely for this. And so I share that because I think it's important for people to fully appreciate that this is not something that reflects well in the league. It's a small thing, but the fact that we're having to go back and refigure this thing out is not good. You know, I hope you guys hadn't booked hotel rooms yet. You know, so just give it a little time. They'll revise the schedule, and we'll get it out. And that's what I understand as well. So just kind of hang loose here for a few minutes, and they'll get you taken care of. But it is embarrassing. It is. And especially, I start planning these trips in my mind. I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm going here, I'm going there. But for some of you, it's a much bigger undertaking. You know, I live here, right? And so you know how ball game weekends are. Sometimes it's difficult to get a place to stay. Really difficult during football, but in baseball sometimes, maybe your premium places, you start thinking, okay, I want to make my reservations. So they'll get that figured out. And so, again, I'm excited about baseball, and I'm excited about football too. I know some other people are like, oh, I'm already ready for baseball. I'm not. I mean, come on. These baseball guys need some time to practice. We're going to win some football games too. And again, the thing that I caution people with, and I try to be the voice of reason, even if we don't agree, I still respect your opinion. And there are some people that are just so completely off the Mike Leach bandwagon because they were never truly on it. It's like they're just waiting to pounce. And again, I don't see anything wrong with our offensive scheme other than we do need to execute it at a higher level. But the reality of it is, and I want to share this with you too, in our final moments together, I have seen this revisionist history about Dan Mullen more times than I can count. And I just want to get this out there because some of the same people that are saying, man, can we get Mullen back, are the same people that wanted him gone. Now, do you know what do you know what Dan Mullen's record was against Alabama when he was here at Mississippi State? Do you recall? It was 0-9. Do you know what Mike Leach's, I got Mike Leach on the brain. Do you know what Dan Mullen's record was against LSU when he was here? You want to take a stab at it? It might shock you. It was 2-7. 2-7. And it took the most iconic player in school history to win in 14 in Tiger Stadium, our first win in Baton Rouge since 1991, when Sleepy and William Prince and those guys came off a bye week and ran a triple option all over those guys. Curly Hallman, kind of the end of the era down there. And then we beat them in 17 up here when Nick Fitzgerald and those guys, Keith Mixon, just absolutely destroyed them. Great game by our defense. That's it. That's the only two wins in Dan Mullen's tenure at Mississippi State. We beat LSU. Now, you could argue we probably should have won some more games against LSU, and I would agree with you. But we didn't. We didn't. We should have beat them in 2009 if we could make a tackle on special teams. We do. If we can make a pitch, we do. And the fact that we were even close in that ball game was a testament to Dan Mullen. But the reality of it is, it was another loss. Dan Mullen loses to LSU 30-26, then 29-7, then 19-6, then 37-17, then 59-26. And that was 13. That was the year before the Dak coming out party. And we win there. Then we lose at our place in 15, 21-19. You remember Dan Mullen, too. As we're getting ready to set up a potential game-winning field goal, we take a delay of game penalty. 2016, we lose 23-20. We win in 17. And then, of course, Jim Moorhead takes over. So, again, there's your two wins for Dan Mullen against LSU. You say, but Steve, no, there's no. I mean, there's no buts. I mean, let's make sure we're judging Mike Leach by the same, scales of justice we're doing Dan Mullen. If we're going to romanticize all this, let's make sure we're doing it with facts. Let's take a look. What was you say, but Steve? I know that Dan Mullen kind of moved ahead of Auburn You know what? So let's run through that too. Dan Mullen got here in 2009, and he went 3-6 against Auburn. No, yes. 2009, we go down there, and remember we blocked the punt. We had Robert Elliott ran it back. We had the lead, and then we lose 49-24. The next year we lose 20-10. That's the Cam Newton year, game we should have won. 2011, we lose 41-34. We go over there, and they stop Chris Ruff at the goal line. 2012, we beat them 28-10 at our place. Tyler Russell with a big game. We go back to their place and lose 24-20. We beat them at our place 38-23 and 14. Of course, that's the game that sends us to number 1. The next year, we go over there, Dak's senior year, beat them 17-9. They didn't have a quarterback. In 16, they destroy us 38-14. In 17, we go over there, and everybody was thinking we were one of the better teams in the country, and we get beat 49-10. And then Dan Mullen leaves. So you look at the teams in our, and we're going to have to play every year, in the West, and it's like sometimes we forget. It's kind of like that ex-girlfriend of yours. You forget why you broke up with her, and it's like, you know what? I could have put up with all that. And you're like, no, I couldn't. Texas A&M joined the league in 2012. Dan actually did decent against them. They beat us 38-13 in the We Believe year. They beat us 51-41 the next year. We get them at our place 48-31 and 14. Big game for us. In 15, we go to College Station. They get us. And then, we won the last 3. And, of course, Dan did a good job against those guys post Johnny Manziel. But outside of that, not quite so much. Dak had a good run against Arkansas. And for that matter, Joe Moorhead had a good run against Arkansas. But I think sometimes we forget. Again, we have this revisionist history. Dan's first year, we lose to Arkansas 42-21. We lose the next one 38-31. Then we lose 44-17. Then we win the next 4. We win the Dak years. And then we lose in 16. That's the year we had Sermonitis. And then we win the last year with Mullen. So you're decent. But it's like, let's just kind of call it what it is. Dan was a guy that won the games he was supposed to win with rare exception. Of course, the South Alabama game, that's the bad non-conference loss. But it was always such an up and down thing. And I'm not in any way being disrespectful to Dan Mullen. I'm very appreciative of the things he did here at Mississippi State. But you think all of a sudden we're going to go back, run the zone read, spread option offense against the defenses of today? I mean, I don't know what happened in Florida. I don't. But I know even with Florida-level talent, Dan Mullen wasn't able to win the SEC. And so it's like, well, Steve, we went 7-8 wins under Dan Mullen. Well, we're basically doing the same thing with Mike Leach. And so I just say that because I think let's make sure, let's focus on who we are and where we're going rather than where we've been. And that's the thing, too. I heard all these stories, too, about Dan and Megan Mullen after they were gone. A lot of people were like, oh, well, there was this and there was that and there was this. And I didn't like this and this person was rude. I don't need Dan to run the Chamber of Commerce, right? I just need Dan to win football games. Same way I see Mike Leach. And Mike Leach is a lot more plugged in our community. Mike Leach is out a lot more. You can see Mike go get a plate lunch. You can see Mike go see some live music. You can see Mike visit with our fans. And so I say this, it's so easy when we have a loss like this, and even though many people expected us to lose to LSU, and that's what irritates me so much is we had a chance. We were finally starting to get some national praise, and Will Rogers was people like, oh, he's the most underappreciated quarterback in the country. And we had a golden opportunity to change the perception of our program and our season, and we blew it. We blew it. Now you got to go win the next 3. And so that's what's so frustrating for me. Beginning of the year, I said, you know what, we're going to lose at LSU. A lot of our fans are like, we got a chance to get out there and win. You know what? Then I talked myself into it after watching them lose to Florida State. And then we lost. But it's a game we should have won. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So now that's behind us. We'll have Mike Leach this afternoon, and then we'll get ready for Bowling Green. A game that we need to go out there and handle. We need to go out there and play efficiently and get deep into the roster and win this game handily. We don't need this game to be in question in the second half. And then we go get ready for Texas A&M. Again, it's a 3 p.m. kick the day after Rock Vegas. Get on board. I'm telling you, I'm all in with Rock Vegas, with NIL, with Mississippi State. I need you to join me. I need you to partner with us to make sure these things happen. So again, just over 100 tickets left. And I need you guys to buy those tickets. I do. I absolutely, again, my impassioned plea to you is buy these tickets, because there are so many people, I can tell you, that are involved with our NIL efforts. They're like, you know what? We're trying to do something super cool here to promote awareness. We need fans to get on board. And so I ask you, as your friend, as your good friend and host, I don't care if it's 1 ticket or 10 tickets. I had somebody the other day bought 20 tickets and said, hey, Steve, give these to students. That's an awfully generous donation. It is. And I'm not asking, hey, if you can buy 20, beautiful. But if you can't, anything that you do, any ticket sold is important. And any ticket, again, helps our NIL effort. So again, I ask you, this is not a vanity project in any way. This is about Mississippi State. And I need you to step up and help me here. I need you to match my energy if you can. That's it for today. Go to dogpilethebook.com and you can pick up all my sports books there. It's Dogpile, Alpha Dogs, Flim Flam, Stark Villains, Blooms of Oleander, of course, available through Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, BooksAMillion.com. Stark Villains gear. My friend Johnny Hayes tweeted out a shirt the other day. He just got one. You can go to StarkVillains.com and order yourself some Stark Villains gear. Pretty awesome stuff. Go to GenesPage.com, subscribe, and if you don't want to subscribe, you can still follow us on our Facebook page and get all of our free content, right? We don't put any VIP content on the Facebook page. Be sure and check us out. But until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.